there's a high chance there will not be intervention from the Western democracies. The fate of the religious communities, especially the Christians and Hindus, will be in more threat.
The program right now is Edward Clancey. He is with Aid of the Church in Need. So I really wanted to try to get you on the program because I wanted to get an insight into what has happened in Pakistan. I think this whole thing, according to the article I saw in on churchinneed.org, this thing kicked off on August the 16th. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe that's the date. Yes. And it was in a smaller city outside of faisalabad. A gentleman, a Christian, was accused of destroying the Quran. And because of the blasphemy laws, a death sentence was ordered against him by the local group leaders. And so mobs started attacking Christian homes, Christian places of worship, and any mark of Christianity in the town.
Attacking the churches and burning things down. I mean, it seems rather crazy to me that they would go to this level. Neighbors, beating neighbors to death, destroying their churches, burning all their Bibles, destroying all the statuaries and the icons, and attacking its citizens.
Yeah, a close co-worker of ours who is living in Pakistan and dealing with this day to day explained that, they accuse Christians of breaking the blasphemy laws by doing something like destroying a page of the Quran or something like that. And she said, what about the blasphemy of destroying human dignity? In Pakistan, in the area of Punjab, where this town is, 2/3 of all Christians live in Pakistan. So it's the place of highest Christian population. And I think that hasn't been lost. The number of cases of blasphemy laws being applied has gone down, and the number of violent attacks has gone down year over year from 2021 to 2022. But then part of that is not necessarily above the fold, as they would say in the New York Times, because a lot of the persecution and a lot of the abuse is not being reported. At the end of 2021, they passed a law to further emphasize that the Prophet Muhammad is the last Muhammad, is the last prophet, and that anything said against him or Islam shall be considered a desecration against Islam and the state of Pakistan.
So you said a second ago that the number of blasphemy cases has gone down. At least that's what they're reporting anyway. So what is the government doing about this? Are they turning the cheek? Are they helping out? Are they getting involved? Are they looking for the perpetrators? I mean, what's the deal?
What seems to be happening right now is some action that might be nothing more than window dressing. More than 100 men were arrested after the attacks. So there is the appearance of some sort of, enforcement of law being done. But in fact, what has happened in the past in so many of these cases is that there is some sort of police activity, there is an arrest, and then nothing happens. There are very few people who actually get prosecuted. We have a book that we put out every 2 years called Persecuted and Forgotten, which highlights the difficulties of Christian life. And Pakistan is almost always, front and center in that book. And in the 2022 version, we featured 7 stories of young women who were either accused of blasphemy or who were abducted. And that's the other thing that's happening to young Christian women, is that there's abductions, at least 1,000 a year, probably more in the neighborhood of 3,000 a year, for the same reason, because of this underreporting. And you can imagine, as a father, if you're told, a mob comes to your door and takes your daughter away and says, if you say anything, I'll start killing your other children. And you have no recourse. What do? I mean, you don't have any weapon. You don't have the government backing. You don't have anything like that. In these recent attacks, there are videos of police officers watching, just standing by and watching as the mobs attack, as they destroy things. They shredded furniture. They burned things, books. What has happened recently is, a couple of days ago, the Catholic communities with the other Christian communities organized a protest in front of the press club, or the place where the media outlet for the government. And what that did was allow them to come together as a group and stand up against this. And so a protest like that is brave, but also is necessary, because they have to show numbers, and they did that. And what the bishops have done is obviously they've condemned these actions, and they've asked for the government to start enforcing the law and to live by what at least the truth of the Constitution should be.
Is it isolated to certain sections of Pakistan? Is it widespread throughout the whole country? I mean, are there some places that are better for Christians than others?
That's hard to say. Better is probably a relative term in this case. The situation is, as I mentioned, most Christians live in the Punjab province, and most Christians live in poverty. In fact, 80% of Christians work, in very menial labor, brick kilns, cleaning, sewer workers, things like that. They're not given the opportunity to rise above that because of their faith. And Pakistan has one of the youngest populations in the world. And because of that, there's a lot of young people with energy. Yeah, because of the growth rate. You have, I think they're about 3.9%, which rivals Africa. Yeah, we're working with the local church. And so our projects will be targeted to immediately help those who have been displaced. There might be the need for them to move because, as you mentioned, buildings were marked, and there may not be safety in going back to what was their home. So these are the things that will have to be investigated, but they have to be done very judiciously and cautiously because you don't want to essentially throw good money after bad and have a church or a home rebuilt only to be destroyed again, or the people not be able to live there, or the church not be able to be used. So this is where we have to rely on the wisdom of the local church, and we do, and they will give us a clear answer. It's not going to be short. There is always hope. I mean, as in places like Nigeria, you meet people who are Christian and live in those places, and they have optimism and hope. They have a sense of zeal of faith that we should learn from. So just that alone, I mean, Tertullian said about the blood of the martyrs, the seeds of faith. It is an opportunity. Unfortunately, it's not going to be an easy road for them, but they're not going to give up. So yes, there is hope.
Aamir is with the Center for Nonviolence and Peace Studies. What is it like to be a Christian, a Catholic right now in Pakistan?
Someone who's like a Christian and Catholic living in that part of the country is constantly living under fear. Fear is not something that is going away, but fear is increasing day by day. And the state operators, like the law enforcement agencies, are so much handcuffed, they were not able even to stop the violence against the Christians in Jarawala district, Faisalabad, because this new political religious pressure group, and I would say extremist pressure group, TLP, which is a Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan, is very much involved in such a kind of incidents. You might have seen over the social media, they are chanting slogans to protecting the sanity of Prophet Muhammad. But meanwhile, they are also burning the churches, the houses, and they're looting the locality. Now these extremist groups are very much feeling, empowered and stronger because now they feel it like, they can do anything and they can do a rampant even the weaker communities. I would quote a recent incident of kind of Quran desecrating in Sweden. So Sweden has nothing to do with the Swedish Christian, has nothing to do with the Pakistani Christians. However, the Pakistani Christians felt so much frightened because these Muslims were staging and threatening, especially these extremist groups were threatening the Christians over there. So their churches were marked and their homes were marked as well. There are more than a dozen incidents where the Christian settlements or the minority settlements were burnt, looted, and their churches were torn down. This is not not going to end here unless the government of Pakistan and the state itself take a firm decision to protect the religious minorities. The police at the moment, they feel not very active. They don't do anything to stop it out, but later on they have more than 100 people's arrest. But what makes it, these 100 people go away because the courts are very much pressurized. They will not proceed to convict them. But yeah, certainly the United States government has labeled Pakistan as a country of particular concern in the International Religious Freedom Report in 2022, which says that Pakistan government is weaker, and also there are frictions in the government and religious political parties. I would quote them. They are helping to involve in violence and using the blasphemy law as a tool to control or suppress the religious minorities in Pakistan. We have shrunk down from 20% to only merely 2% of the total population. So down the line in 10 years or 5 years, either people will be persecuted and they will be forcefully converted, or they will kill themselves. There's no very much, I would say, kind of way forward, because the government, everything, even the politicians now using this blasphemy law as a tool to settling their scores against their opponents. So there's a high chance that if there will not be intervention from the Western democracies, these fate of the religious community, especially the Christians and Hindus, will be in more dangerous, in more threat, and they will be more likely threats to their settlements, their houses, their churches. 19 August, there was an incident in Sahiwal as well, where the same kind of plot against the Christian community was held. Someone has desecrated pages of Quran and thrown it away next to the Christian churches in Sahiwal. Then on 20th of August, recently, there was also blasphemy allegation and plot were made in Sargodha, another city in and then there was incident of desecration of church in Karachi. And now on 20 August, and the same, there was attack on another religious minority, Ahmadiyya community in Pakistan. So I mean, it's not going to stop. But every time people were really strong in their faith, and they were relying on faith. That's how I think that's the potential that we Christians or the minorities over have, because after each mob attack or each kind of distraction, we feel it more strong in our faith. That's helping us in such a despair situation. But nobody can ensure their safety in the future as well, not even the government. We have seen a lot of high authorities, like the chief minister of the province of Punjab, like the caretaker prime minister of the country, also visited and sent their support and condolences. But that's something people, they need more than that. They need a surety from the state itself for their protection of their lives, their property, and their belongings. If anybody has a chance to leave such a kind of tyrant situation, they would not, be staying a minute afterwards. But the thing is that these all minorities, especially the Christian minorities, are very poor. I mean, they are the poorest of the poor living there. They either have the means to feed their family, or they can just do nothing. So they are illiterate, they're poor, and they have no much say in the political decision making. The international community, the United States government, and the philanthropist international organization should come forward, help these people, whatever they can do. That I know there are means. It can be channelized. The government of Pakistan can be engaged to improve the legal system in the country. The blasphemy law, which is a unjust law, and I would say again a draconian law, should be repealed immediately to give a sense of protection to these marginalized groups.
Did you like that video? It's okay. You can admit it. It's perfectly fine. Hey, we cover the big stories of our day, from inside the church to outside the church to all points in between, and we do it from a Catholic perspective. It's called A Catholic Take. It's a radio program Monday through Friday. We live stream it right here on this channel, by the way, so make sure to subscribe, like, and share. We would be very grateful to you. And don't forget, you're going to want to watch this video right here because you don't want to miss anything.